Hello everyone and welcome to our deep dive into fundamental backend development. Today we are exploring modern .NET 10 mastery. We will cover everything from the new C# 14 syntax to build a scalable layer architecture that can handle enterprise-level demand. We begin with Module 1, focus on C# basic syntax. This serves as a foundational logic for all backend service, covering variables, type, and essential control structure you will use daily. Modern C# emphasizes readability. We favor the var keyword for implicit typings, where the type is obvious from the context. We also use expression bodies member using the fast arrow syntax to keep our function concise and clean. As you can see in the example, simple additional function or standard grid method remain highly readable. Handling logic in .NET 10 is more powerful than ever. While we still use standard if-else block for branching, we now learn heavily on high-performance switch expression. These are particularly efficient in backend development for mapping DTOs or handling various data code with a minimal boilerplate. When it comes to iteration, choose the right tool is key. We use for loops when we have a no numbers of iteration or needs index access. However, for collection like list or arrays, for each is the preferred choice. It's cleaner, safer, and specifically optimized for interface enumerable types. Stability is non-negotiable. In the backend, we use try-catch finally blocks to ensure our service remain resilient, especially when dealing with external resources like database or APIs. By catching specific exceptions like find not found exception and using global cache for the rest, we can log errors effectively and clean up resource properly. Moving to Module 2, we can explore the four pillars of OOP. First, encapsulation or data hiding. We wrap the data and method within a class and use access modifiers like private and public protect the object internal state. Ensuring logic like bank balance updates is strictly controlled. Second is inheritance, which decode the usabilities by creating a base user class. We can create an admin user that inherits all existing properties while adding its own specific functionalities like the user method. Third is polymorphism, meaning many forms. This allows us to treat a circle as a shape while still executing the specific behavior of the circle. We achieve this using virtual and override keyword. Finally, we have abstraction. This is about hiding complex implementation details and only showing the necessary features. By using this abstraction class or interface, we create a contract like payment gateway that specific service like Stripe must implement. This leads us to dependency injection, the backbone of modern .NET architecture. By coding to interface, we achieve loose coupling. This makes our code much easier to test and maintain as the project grows. In practice, we often use three-layer architecture. We have the controller for web APIs and routings, the service layer as the brain, controlling business logic, and finally EF core for database interaction and persistence. Before getting hands-on, you must master the .NET CLI. These commands are primary tools for CI and CD automation. Use .NET New to create a project. .NET Build to compile and .NET Watch for a fast development workflow with hot reload. To interact with data, we use Entity Framework called it acts as an ORM bridge, letting you work with .NET Object instead of writing raw SQL. It automatically translates link queue queries to SQL and handles database migration for version control. We use DTO, or its name is Data Transfer Objects, to decouple our internal database model from the external APIs. This is crucial for security as it prevents overposting attacks and allow us to rename or hide sensitive fields using decoration like JSON property names. To avoid this tedious task of manual mapping between entire DTOs, we use automappers. You simply define the mapping rules 1 and 2 automate transformation within your service layers. Finally, we use Swagger to provide an interactive API portal. This allows developers to discover and test endpoints directly through a web UI. Based off all the documentation stay in sync automatically as your code changes. To wrap up, remember that professional .NET test development relies on three things: mastering your tools, CLI, entity framework called Swagger, refining your logics, DTO and automappers, and maintaining a clean structure, layer architectures. You are now ready for the hands-on phase. Okay, in this session, we will start hands-on .NET to-dos. First, we will start with create your project directory. Make directory, and you start with .NET to-do, like this. Okay, then you have the folder of directory. Then you need to check your .NET is available in your computer by .NET Git version. Sorry, I mean .NET Dash version. Okay, if the .NET available in your computers, then you change the directory to your projects directories. Okay, then you need to create a web API project by create a .NET new solution. New solution to do API like this. And then you can use. Okay, they will start to do API solutions. Then you need to create some projects. Do APIs. Okay, and I need to create in this root same with the together with the solution files, and I force. Okay, after that, I need to add to do API project CS blocks to the solution. Okay, these are for the project structure, and then you need to open your code editor, right? Code, right? Okay, this is your project structure. First, we need to clean the project template, like to do it at HTTP, you can delete. Okay, and you will need to clean up this file too. And what you need to do is Okay. Okay. We will create new folder. Name controller. To keep the all controller we use in the app. And next one is mapping. To keep the mapping profiles. Sorry, folders. Mappings. The next one is models. Model we need to keep entities for ORM in the application. We keep in this directory. That is repository. Sorry. And then it's service. Business. Okay, it's good. We have the project structure, the popular project structure. Then you need to create your terminal. Okay. What you need to do is add a require NuGet package. We choose NPScale for the project scale, automapper for mapping DTOs, and Wiki for password hashing. What you need to do is you can .NET install package. I will copy, paste it. Okay. You will install Entity Framework for design, Entity Framework called tools, progress scale, durability barrier, automapper, and decrypt next. Okay, then you enter Docker or Docker Compose by KS. Docker Compose dot YAML. Okay, then we will create a service. Okay, Docker Compose is used for build the container, right? And in the container, we can run in many services. Okay, first we need to create service. Then you indent db image postgres 15th outline. Container's name is to do db. And I run met postgres db name. You can name it like to do db, make it simple. Postgres user. Okay, this is your user to log into your database. I will use like user. Make simple just for the example. Like password. Okay. Okay, then you need to mapping the port because you need to interact from your computer to the container port. Okay. Container and remote to container. You need to write port from the computer you will access to. And the port in the container. Okay. You will need Docker volume too. You can to map the volume. Okay, like this. Okay, then set. Oh, sorry. You need to mapping volume to your service. Postgres data. Okay, like this. Then you set. Next thing you need to do is Docker Compose and make it run on the background. Okay, so okay, make it pulling for a little bit. Okay, if you have a Docker, you can check. Okay, run. Okay, it's good. Then you need to check by your some program to check the database is available. In this case, I use dbeaver. Okay, you can set it to localhost and to do db. And your password, users, password, and test connection. Okay, it's done good. Okay, you see. Okay. Okay. Okay, next thing you need to do is config setting and service program CS. After you need to create a connection string and the environment for your projects. And we go to app settings. Okay, I'll go to the app settings and adding some fields or elements like connection string, default connection, and I set issue host, local host, that database to do db, username, users, and password. Okay, like this. And next thing you need to do is setting for your JWT. You will use it later in your program. Okay, you set JWT settings. Next, first one is you create your JWT secret. Okay, and then you can set to anything you want. For example, I like to use super secret 1 2 3. And next one is issuer to do API, and audience to do API user. Next one is expiration in minute. Expiration in minute. I set to 1 hour. Okay. Okay, the next thing you need to do is go to your program.cs. Okay, and there is something you need to config. Okay, I will for this section. Then you need to add something to use authentication and app the use authorization and map controller. We use the map controller service and repository patterns. We need to map controller automatically. Okay, it's look good. Okay, for the first one, we need to config if call with project, right? What we need to do is we will go to the repository and create some new C# files, and we'll get the app db context. Okay, after you create the app db context, you need to setting this up. Okay, then you check your namespace correctly, and then you okay, you inherit the class, and then you public app app db context. Okay, you get constructor db context options. Yes, option. Okay, you setting up right. Then and then you get to go to the program.cs and config the EF call with broadcast. I will skip it by copy from my note to save the time. Okay. Okay, good. Then you need to config automapper to you go to mappings. Oh, sorry. Go to mappings and you create a class file. Name is to do profile. Okay, and then you rename your namespace. Okay, like to do, and it's to do profile. What you need to do is need to inherit from profile automapper like this, and then you public to do profile. Okay, and we will implement this later. And go back to your program.cs. And you build a dot service dot add auto mapper config as profile. to do API mappings dot to do profile. Okay. Then we need, okay, because service dependency channel we do it later. Okay, it's still here, right? Okay, then we need to config JWT. Can make it easy. I will copy it from my note and explain it to you. Okay. Okay, we use the environment variable like JWT setting as frequent and we'll guardrail check. And we will add authentication and add the default authentication scheme. Okay, we will add the JWT barrier to settings to barrier. And we need to check, this is a condition to check the JWT validate user is your audience, lifetime, issue signature key, what is issue, signature signing symmetric key, and we use it by cookie name, the header is JWT. Okay. For the next one is we need to set up the swagger, the CC. We just use add endpoint to API from and serve it at open API. Okay, and within this session, we need to add the Swagger UI tools in the environment. Okay, we just use this. Okay, if you have an error with Swagger endpoints or the use Swagger UI, you need to install some package, right? The add package, Swagger buckle, sp.core, and it will work. Okay, then we need to check is everything run correctly. Okay, we need to let it build. Okay, it's work. Then okay, we already set up the our program.cs. Then we need to do the implementation of core logics. We need to go to the model. We will create the model first. And okay, we will have two files, two folders like DTOs, folders, DTOs, new folders, entities. Okay, we create the new entities. First, we will create the users. Okay, for saving time, I use with my script. Okay, then and we create new files to do item. Okay, then I use it with my script too. We need to save the time. Okay. So after you create the entity, right, you need to register to the app.db context. Okay. Okay, this is constructor, right? And you need to define the properties. Use db sets, users, get set, db set to do item, to do get set like this. Okay. And after you set the property, you will set the relation by using, I will use my script to set the time too, and I will explain it. Okay, this property of your table will look like. Okay, we will create on model, create entity like user has index username is unique, and entity user has many to do items with one user, and for the case user ID, and this is on cascade. Okay, we will be setting up the app DB context. Okay, we need to run to check build. Okay, everything looking fine. After we create the entity, right, we need to go to the service path. We will start with auth. Okay, these are navigation property entities. Okay, then you need to go to the service, and to start a service, you will create two class, two interface. I mean, two class and two interface. Okay, first we start with interface or service, and interface to do service. Okay, this service is contracts of your behavior of your service. Okay, in the community we will use only the public. What is the public method allowing the interface? Okay, for saving time, I will copy it from my node. Okay, for the interface of service, we need two tasks to do is this register things and login things. And it will return a task like a promise in JavaScript, promise in TypeScript or JavaScript, and user can be nullable and it be string nullable. Okay, we go to the to-do service. Okay, for saving time, I copy it from my node. Oh, okay. Before we go to the service layer, I forget something to create. We need to create some DTOs. Because DTO is the proxy data before returning to the client or retrieve from the client. And this type will define to the DTO in the interface. We need to create a DTO first. Oh, create all DTOs. Yes. Okay. Then I will create from a document. Public. Okay, require this data allocation. Okay, I will expand. Okay, we have three DTO. Either or DTO is register DTO, login DTO, and user DTO. Like register DTO, we just require the username and password. Login require username and password. And class user DTO, we just only return the ID and username. Okay, it's good. Okay, we create new class like to do DTO. That's yes. Okay. Do API. Format document. Okay, we create a public class to do items. DTO is to do item DTO, what we need to return to, and create to do DTO, update to do DTO. Is for the CRUD API. Okay, after this, I will go to the interface to dos, and it's choose show me model DTO. Okay, it's right. Okay, what we need to do in the to do's in this to do service or the to do public to do service method. I will get user to do things, get to do by these things, create to do things, update to do things, and delete to do things. Okay, it's work good. And then we create interface, right? We need to create a class that implement the interface. Okay, I create this, so I need to do the all service. Yes. Okay. Okay, after you create the all service, you need to implement the interface all service. Okay, and we ask you to implement the interface, right? Okay. After this, you will create the private generate token. I will create a helper function for this from a document. Okay. Next thing you need to do is your dependency injection and constructor. Okay, I will expand what this happen. You need to create your class properties or class dependencies is to private read only, and you create the also with constructor and and construct the context and config private just in your class. Okay, and you will have a private string generate the DVT token. Then you need to require to implement login and register things. Okay, this is a task. I need to make it a sync function. Sync function, and I will copy it from my note. Okay, yes, and I explain. Okay, first we need to retrieve the user, right? If we need to log in, we will check if it's valid. We use the context and go to the user table and single or default thing. We check and check if user equal to null or is not validated, return null and generate JWT token user. And go to the register. Format first. Okay. Or we check if user have username as just exit to check. Okay. And we use the new user and okay, if the user does not exist, we create a new user entities and define the username as password hash. And we use contact user.add and save change the sync and return the users. Okay, it's work right. And then we go to the next service is auth service. Oh no, auth service, to do service. We get the to do APIs service. Okay, first we need to implement interface to do service. And do if like your auth service. Okay, it will ask you to implement. You just implement. And what you need to do in this, you need to define the dependencies. Like in the auth service, you do previously. Okay. Okay, what you do is task is create to do things, delete to do things, get to do ID, get user to do, update to do things. Okay, I will copy it from my note and explain you to saving the time. Okay. Okay, you will see this have some error there. I will explain you later. Okay, what we need to do. First, we need to get user to do things. We use to do and we go to the context, always context to the item, and we use link queue to where and orders and to list the things. So this is always and it return to do's. And we return the auto mappers. Use mapper map enumerate to do items to do's. We use to do to its parameters and want to cast tie into I enumerate to do items. And for the get to do by the things, we use single or default things and we query is ID equal to ID, user ID to user ID, and return to do. If it's now return now, and it's not just map the to do item DTO, we need to return only DTO. And do it same with the create. We will map the create DTOs and to cast type to the to do items, and we save it to the database, add and save into the database. And it's updates. We need to do context and to do items and we verify ID equal to ID, user to equal to the user. If to do is now just return out and we map, we just map update DTO to the DTO entities. It will modify the value of to do from this in the line 52 and its entity framework will track the change and will save change as things and return. And for the last one is delete to do things. Okay, we just find the to do and is remove and save change things. Okay, that's it. Okay, but we skip from the auto mapper for profile. We need to map the DTO and entities for in this section. I will copy and explain you. just import. Okay. The AutoMapper's profile setting is just simple. You need to create a map, and your left is the source and your right is destination. You need to map to do item DTO, create to do DL to do item, and update to do DTO to do items. And for this line, this map have the special condition. It is you need to for all members to check the condition if the source member is now is check to the source member is not now ignore the now value to write it to your destination objects. If you don't write it, if you don't send some fields, it will change your destination fields existing to the now variable. Okay. Okay, we done with the service. And just to edit this. Okay. We need to .NET View. Okay, it's work. Okay, after you create the service, what you need to do is plug it to your program.cs, and the code is very simple. You need just build the service as scope and use the interface and your destination class. Okay, that's it. Okay, for the next section, we will migrate it to the database. What command you need to run is you need to .NET tools install global .NET EF is a EF core command to use the migration. I already installed. If you not do, just install it. Okay, the next command is you need to create the first migration. Use .NET EF migrations add initial create. Okay, then you need to apply it. You need to EF database update. It's very simple, and you can check by use the DB. And then you refresh to do update. Yeah, there's to user and to do. It's what? Okay. After we create this, we go to the last section. We go to the controller and just create some controllers. Okay, the next is auth controller.sys. Okay. Okay, I need to create a C# new C# class auth controllers to the API. Okay, you need to implement a control and inherit the controller base class. Okay, then you will do it daily. Just create a dependency of your class and define it. Okay, and you need to using to the service. Okay, you just plug the service you create before to your controllers. It's very simple, easy, right? Okay, then you need to do some things. You need to tell the program.cs these are the controllers. Use just this declaration, and I will explain it. Oh, okay, not namespace, just this. Okay. Okay, API controller, this just tell the program.cs that a API controller you map into the map controller like this. Okay, and you use route API controller. Route is just you use the slash API, and controller this it will use the name before the class controller. In this case, is it a slash API slash auth and do some things. Okay, and I will copy paste the all endpoint and I will explain you. Okay. It's very simple. Okay, it requires you to import PTO. Very simple, you use declaration, you have some function like public async return the task or in the TypeScript or JavaScript is mean the promise. Action resource is a HTTP resource, and register from body used for read the parameter from the bodies of the HTTP request. And what the education do is HTTP post is your route of your post you post to the register, and it's data to 400 and 409. Okay, is we need to model validate first, and if not, it's bad request. and we need to use users, register users, models, call the service and registers, and return OK if the success user registers successfully. And log into, we just call the login async service, or service and login async, and if token is now unauthorized, and when return, we just send the cookie back. The cookie HTTP only secure to same size with expire date is 16 minutes, 60 minutes, and respond cookie to append JWT and return message login successfully and log out, just create the cookie. It makes sense. Okay, and for the last controller, we use the to do controller do API. Okay, you do it same as you do. Need the first, we need to implement the controller base, or you need to inheritance the controller base class from the entity frameworks or from the .NET MVCs controllers. Okay, and then you need to tag some things. Okay, I will explain you this very important. What is authorization? Okay, you will see it before in the program says that use authorization. This means your app using the authorization pipeline and allow the all controllers use the authorization. What does it mean? It means if I have the authorized decorator in the controller class, this class must be authentication before we doing some things. Does it make sense and very simple? Okay, and this does tag is to tell the Swagger, okay, this API in the group tags class. Okay, it makes sense. Okay, and we'll create a dependency of this class. What we will do? Okay, and a format document. Okay. Okay, before we go deep dive into the our API route, we just create a simple helper method. You can create in the some utility file if you want, but just in this case, we just create this file as a private method of the helper function. What is this helper function private get current user IDs do? Is we go to the user first claim type name identifier value return in parsers. What it do? Before your authorization, if your credential is valid, it will go to the pipeline and will used by this auth authorized, and the users will available you to use. And what is user? If user is just your claim, the JWT claim, right? And you file first and claim the identities or IDs, and you pass it into string to use in your application, because you need the service know the identity, right? What is for users. Okay, I will copy paste and explain you briefly. Okay, I format document and import detail. Okay, these are CRUD method, a very simple CRUD method. Okay, we will service get all. Okay, that's to do service and get user to do things. Okay, return okay to do. It mean okay, it's a success or 200 core status. And http.get, we just have the param ID to the URL of getting API to fetching API. Okay, we just get to do by ID thing. Okay, what is ID stand for? ID is ID of your task, and get current user ID to make it okay to ID is to this is for the user ID. And return, we can return not found and return okay. And post, we need to create form body and create to do TO by pull it from the request bodies. And we create and return the actions, create add actions. And update tools is look easy. We just call the service we create, and the controllers not have the complicated things. And the result we need to delete. We call the to do service and delete to do thing. And if it's not resolved, return not found. Okay, and return the no context and the status code. Okay, that is. And we need to build first. I think it's not right. Okay, everything looks good. Then we need to check. Okay, all application run. We go to the test section. Just test with a simple Swagger. We need to the .NET run to run this work correctly. Okay. If it run, we go to the link and we slash swagger index.html, and the authentication and task will go here for the controller part. And then if we want to test with register, just register and we try it out. Like username, just very simple. Root, yep. And password is very simple as test exam. So test, okay, and we'll create. Okay, it works already. And we go to the database. Okay, it's what? And then we go to the API resort. Okay, we try to log in. It's very simple. And try to log in. Yes, log in successfully and your cookie saved in my database. Right? And we can go to the storage and go to gear. Okay, your JWT is very safe. Just save it. Okay, and we can try log out, but I will skip it. Okay, we try log out. If we log out, and what is will happen when I task execute? Okay, it's unauthorized because it's protected. It's work correctly. If you want to make it work, you need to log in first. Okay, after you log in and try to execute. Okay. Okay, try log out. Try to log in. Okay, log in correctly and try to get. Okay, there's one body is empty. Why? Because there is no task to this user. What we need to do is just post and try it out. Title, right? Eat rice. Description, I am hungry. It's very basic and we create. Okay. Is 201 create success? And what is create? What is this create? The return details have ID, title, description is complete false created. And okay, and we try to okay, the objects work correctly.